Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to answer which one I think is the better AI stock to buy for 2024, Nvidia or IBM. I'm going to compare these two AI stocks across several financial metrics, including their valuation, their operating profitability, and their cash flow. I'm also going to look at their prospects over the next 2 years and bring it all together, comparing it against their valuations to determine which one I think is the better AI stock to buy. So let's jump right in with this financial analysis.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
Before we get into the revenue for these two AI companies, let's take a look at the total addressable market for artificial intelligence. According to Statista, the total addressable market for artificial intelligence is expected to grow to $1.85 trillion by the year 2030. That would be up significantly from the $207.9 billion in 2023. Artificial intelligence is popularized by large language models like ChatGPT, but there are more applications like driverless car technology, recommender systems, and more. The companies that stand to benefit from the growth in this AI surge is companies like Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Microsoft, and more. Investors getting in today could realize exponential returns from investments that capitalize on the growing effectiveness of artificial intelligence. That being said, you can see Nvidia in the most recent trailing 12 months starting to capitalize on that massive market opportunity. You could see this boom here from Nvidia, and that's all, well, I shouldn't say all, but primarily related to demand from its chips from AI related use cases. Its revenue jumping to 44.87 billion in the trailing 12 months, and Nvidia has done a good job growing revenue in the last decade. IBM, meanwhile, has been struggling to generate organic revenue growth. Its revenue falling from over 90 billion down to 61 billion. But that isn't because its organic revenue is declining. The company has made some divestitures in that time, and so its organic revenue growth has been primarily absent. However, it hasn't been declining organic revenue either. It's been mostly flat to low single digit growth for IBM in its organic revenue growth. So much slower growth from IBM compared to Nvidia. The next thing I wanted to look at is their operating profit margins, and you can see Nvidia holding the advantage in this metric with 45.94% in the most recent trailing 12-month period compared to 14.55% for IBM. And the trend is also in Nvidia's favor, rising from 12% to 46%, while IBM is headed in the opposite direction. So both the number and the trend in Nvidia's favor here as well. Similar story with the cash flow from operations to sales, although IBM is much closer in this metric compared to the operating profit margin. Again, Nvidia with a nice 41.99% compared to 21.96% for IBM, and Nvidia's trend is also nicely upward, although it is volatile. Still, it is upward if you look back all the way from 2015 up till the most recent period. You can draw a nice upward trend, whereas IBM, that trend is also upward, but the slope is less steep compared to Nvidia. Again, Nvidia with the advantage according to this metric. So now let's look at the prospects over the next 2 years for these two AI stocks. For IBM, analysts expect revenue to grow by 2.9% in the year ending 2024 and 5.2% in the year ending 2025. For earnings per share, analysts expect 4.4% growth for 24 and 7% growth for 2025. I will highlight also that IBM's second derivative rate is increasing. You can see revenue growing from 2% to 2.9 to 5.2, and earnings per share growing from 4.1 to 4.4 to 7. That's double top and bottom second derivative rate of growth increase, which is an excellent factor when I'm considering an investment. Not only is the growth rate positive, but the rate of growth is increasing. So positive news for IBM stock investors on those metrics. Nvidia, meanwhile, look at the phenomenal growth rates here. For 2024, analysts expect revenue to grow by 56.5%, and for 2025, they expect 17.5%. Earnings per share growth of 66.7% for 2025 and 15.9% for 2026. Nvidia's rates of growth is much higher than IBM, multiples higher than IBM, although Nvidia is posting declining or decelerating rates of increase. You can see from 118 down to 56, down to 17, from 268 down to 66, down to 15.9. That's an undesirable characteristic. However, Nvidia's multiples higher rates of growth exceeds the downside from the decelerating rates of growth. So even though IBM does have the advantage in the second derivative, Nvidia's rates of growth are so high that it still holds a better short-term 2-year forward prospects for its revenue and earnings per share growth. So the next thing I wanted to look at for these two companies is total long-term debt. I want to see if any of them have massive loads of long-term debt that could pose a risk, and not so much, although IBM does have a much higher debt load at 55.24 billion compared to just 9.7 billion for Nvidia. Nvidia clearly has the better balance sheet here. Still, I wouldn't go so far as to say IBM's debt load is a risk, considering the company does generate 61 billion in revenue at reasonably solid operating profit margin and cash flow from operations. So the debt is serviceable. It's not a big risk. Although if you're just comparing them head to head, Nvidia's balance sheet is in a better position. Finally, I wanted to compare these two on valuation, and the metric I chose to use is the forward price to earnings ratio. And looking at this metric, Nvidia stock is more expensive, trading at a forward PE of 23.9 compared to IBM trading at a forward PE of 14.82. However, given Nvidia's better performance across the myriad of financial metrics we looked at, I'm willing to pay the premium valuation for Nvidia stock in this case. I think the premium is justified. In fact, I would be willing to pay an even higher premium in this case, all the way up to maybe even a forward PE of 30, closer to 35 in this case, in this comparison, because Nvidia had such better financial performance and expectations over the next 2 years compared to IBM. So if I was to choose between these two AI stocks today for 2024 and beyond, I would choose Nvidia. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.